So, the last few days or weeks, many of you would have seen on Instagram some AI generated videos. Yeah, people are telling that Hollywood is in danger, right? So, that much nice those AI generated videos are. And how is that being created? Recently we had this Google VO3 and all. So, people, they have all such highly powerful videos which are challenging the future scope of Hollywood. They are all built on top of data. So from healthcare, finance, banking, insurance, retail, telecom, there's no industry which is not impacted by the influence of AI. And we all know that AI is the future, and that future is built on top of data. And that is the reason why we have chosen this subject, data as a product. We will discuss about how data is collected, how that data is streamlined, how those pipelines are set, and how the project management related things are implemented, and how that data is developed into a scalable product for masses to get utilized. So the first question is general, it's open to everyone. I gave a definition to data as a product. What does data as a product mean to you, and how does this perspective shift from the traditional approaches to data management? Open to all.
Hello. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I think it is very nice to see all of you. On a Saturday, as you mentioned, and it shows how interesting it is and how Dentsu has been also to attract people, and there is a lot of effort done by you guys. Thanks for that. And coming back to the topic of how AI has changed, one statement which
Winning.
Vinay made it. Sorry. So Vinay made it, right? That's a universal statement where your data is going into a decision that applies across different domains. Now coming back to AI, how it has changed. Before it was all about just keep your data clean, whether it is getting connected to multiple stuff, all that. How it is going to be used, that was a different story altogether. Now it is a reverse engineering which we are doing. It is a domain-driven solution, and for that we are using computation where ML/AI comes into picture. The way of looking at it has transformed from domain and customer experience, then getting back into technical and see how it solves. That's what it is.
Fine. Ramya?
Hey everybody. Yes, very important question. First of all, before we start this, thank you for taking time and coming here. This shows a lot of enthusiasm that we have as a data team, right? So the question here was about data as a product. Little louder, okay. Any better? Yes. Okay. Data as a product and the perspective of its shift in comparison with the traditional approach. So I think as an Agilist who's been implementing Agile solutions, working with a lot of data folks and many other technologies, Agile and Lean Agile mindset has actually induced a lot of effort in transforming the data and the product life cycle as such. Okay? So all of us traveled here. All of us are data points. Everything that you do, yes? So, the way how we had transformed, I think where we guys started, 10, 20 years back, or maybe 30 years back, it's all defined process. Somebody would bring in requirements, we would analyze, implement solution, test, deploy. Now, what has come through right now after that transition came in the Agile way of thinking, and then we all transferred into so-called Scrum Kanban, and then right now I think the hot cake is about scaled Agile framework. So while we deal every second, right, all of us are data point, multiple actions that we do, Insta, Facebook, whatever you do, purchase history, behavioral analytics, whatever you want to support. Again, I think Vinay also gave us a lot of illustration as to where we have started as a market or a newspaper associate who wanted to cover the market to providing somebody a kind of a solution where you can enjoy a concert. And how beautiful is it, right? So For me, it is totally a 360-degree shift from what we did versus what we are doing today. So, yeah, all engineers, yeah? Where do we all start? Let us assume E is equal to MC squared, correct? So, I just want to give you an example how we have kind of changed. So, yeah, in a project management perspective, right? All of us have seen three constraints of project to execute. So, one is the scope, next is the time, and the cost. So, imagine a triangle, assume a triangle, which is just like this. And at the top is your scope and time and cost. Imaginary line passing through that. Whatever is at the top, okay, it's something that is susceptible to be flexible. What is at the bottom is supposed to be constant. Now, how agile or a scaled agile way of thinking has transformed this entire circle into a reverse psychology where your scope becomes super flexible, time and cost remains constant. So if you want to relate this to your day-to-day life, then your iteration, sprint, all these things and the number of people working in that becomes constant, but your requirements are subjected to change. Now you want to adapt agility, you want to adapt Kanban and Scrum, that all depends upon the way how you want to, how you are expecting the change in your scope. So that's how I feel it has transformed from a management perspective.
Hello everyone. So I wanted to, so the role I play in Dentsu and TGS is into product and analytics, products and solutions and advisory. And in that, I look at it more from a product vision, product roadmap, competitive landscape standpoint before we pass it on to the to the implementation team to actually build and launch the product. So to what both of them said, I wanted to add the client angle. So from a data management, which was more data security or data storage, to now trying to solve a client problem, right? And hence the need of all the things that Ramya mentioned, right? Why it has to be agile, because client expectation is changing, competitive landscape is changing, it's very fast moving, and hence the need to be adaptable, flexible, scalable, all at the same time, and hence the need of virtual data warehousing like Snowflake, use of AI, 𝗗𝗲𝗄𝗃, which enables us to integrate data, different sources of data to bring out the robust insight. It's not just one set of, one source of data. Lot of layers of data processing, right? Where we are creating KPIs, we are getting AI in to see new relationships if we are not seen earlier, right? To generate insights, AI-driven insights, conversational, like Vinay spoke about. So it is all value for the user now, and that is the direction in which we are moving from our data as product. Also, in terms of how it is used, what is the output, right? It could either be, kind of feed into a client platform, a client tool, or can further feed into a modeling exercise, the outcome of the data product, or it could be an end product where we are being able to generate insights or recommendations which the client is directly consuming for this decision. So yeah, so those are some of the other angles I want to bring up.
Thanks for sharing your perspectives. So let's go to the individual questions now. The first question goes to you, 𝗵𝗲. How do organizations like Dentsu identify, okay, I'm going to choose this as a problem statement and convert this data into a product. But if you're choosing one such product, what is the life cycle in which you build it? Your thoughts about that?
So, I mean, again, tying it back to client requirement, right? We typically start with a client requirement, market study, market research to understand what are the demands, where is the gap, what is the competitive landscape, and also what does the future look like in terms of that product or that requirement. So this is the outside in view. We, Dentsu being a big company, we have a lot of internal advisors for our products. So we typically have, advisory boards for products where we, again, and they are experts who have either built similar products or used, other competitor products in the past, who gives us the direction as to what to prioritize, not only in terms of product, but also in terms of features, enhancements, and so on. And then you asked about the life cycle. So, again, tying to Ramya's point, we try to keep things very agile. Requirements change. We need to reduce the risk, and hence, typically, what we would do is after this entire exercise of, product vision building, roadmaps, the first would be to launch an MVP, where we can validate the initial launch, the value to the user, get feedback, and then continue building on further enhancements. Yeah, I think that's
Fine, okay. So thanks for that, 𝗵𝗲𝗍. So Chetan, this is for you. With Gen AI democratizing access to analytics, how are companies redefining the role of a data analyst in this new navigation?
It's a complex question and very diversified.
But you are the right person to break it into.
To a certain extent, I'll try my best. So, before all, when we say data analysis is, as I said, someone gives a requirement, a requirement breakdown. At a data analyst level, I'm talking about, say, data analyst to senior data analyst level. We try to analyze and see whether the data is matching to the requirement in terms of a couple of use cases with permutation combination depending on which domain we are. That domain has a exclusivity. Now it is different. Now, though we are a tech guys, right? Anybody from core tech background, anything, it is all driven by the domain experience. Like when she say client, it is all again coming back to the business they are in. Like we are in pharma, crop science, and consumer healthcare. So if I come and say, can you tell me which is the best pharma product in the world, then a data analyst, I cannot go and check in the database what is it happening, right? You will not have a subset of or even a sample of the data across the world. So it is to keep it simple is tech guys with SME background for your particular requirement. You should start thinking as you're a business owner of any of the project, even a small project. That's what I keep mentoring my international internships or internal projects which I handle. You should think of any smallest project as your company. Then what you want to achieve in a user's perspective or an end user perspective or people what we are trying to achieve. Then implement tech to it or data, then you are on the point or at least closest to the way what kind of data we need and what would help us to achieve success in what we are trying to do. If it is a reverse, which was a decade back or so, we are just humans, and today attaching AI to it is Gen AI and Copilot can do that. But how can we resist ourselves and add a human touch to it is with the knowledge what we get and the domain experience, which is very specific. The generic domain experience can be given by a machine, whatever Gen AI or Copilots, whatever solutions you have. But very specific solution, it needs a human touch even today. That's not a threat. It is like we can make our work much more efficient with a very specific knowledge of the domain and understanding of the market and our business. That's why.
Thanks for that, Chetan. Yep, and Ramya. So, when you're operationalizing data as a product, what are the common challenges faced by organizations and what are the measures taken by you to address those challenges?
Actually, a very beautiful question. I resonate a lot to what Chetan says. One word, mindset.
Indeed.
So each one of you have to be product owners, and I would say another dimension to it, each one of you should be entrepreneurs yourself. I think that's the essence of the Agile team, that it should think the way it should nurture itself, continuously learning, and talk to your product owners about the market discovery, question on the product, are we building right? That is the perspective that I would say is the mindset. Now, we know the problem statement, right? What is the solution to fix that mindset? Lot of data, lot of YouTube channels, everybody is becoming a reporter. Yeah, everybody is getting into trouble as well, lot of trolls, psychological impact. But then search, ask questions and reflect within if it's the right source of content. Very important. All of us are getting carried away with that fancy, trends or whatnot, social media influences. But then if you want to reflect on the right knowledge, like if you want to even hear out an illustration, become a Scrum Master within 3 days. Possible?
Just
No,
to
right?
add, we have seen many such advertisements. Become a data analyst in 3 hours just by paying 99 rupees.
Yeah, 99 rupees. Yeah, even I would get carried away from that, perspective ad and, the sense of urgency. Bring in that sense of urgency for your quality and deliverables. The thirst for the knowledge and the way how you want to nurture yourself. That is one thing, that's one perspective. Another thing that can be influential is the organization itself. I mean, look at the crowd, look at the way Dentsu is organized and given importance for us to learn and think on the perspective as to data as a product, right? So, I mean, it's org, it's us, it's the environment, it's also a social responsibility. Yeah, that is the mindset that I want you guys to carry home today and be a different person in the way how you think from now on. Now is the time. Thank you.
Yeah, mindset is everything. Thanks for that. So, what kind of, Chetan and 𝗗𝗵𝗶, this is for both of you. You both come from different industry. You come from the healthcare and pharma, and you come from digital marketing. What kind of data products are generally built in your respective industries? Can you give us some specific examples?
Yes. No, I've worked in multiple domains. I just stick to pharma and crop science also. Crop science is pretty much I would like to highlight because pharma you may get to hear very often, but crop science is something APAC business is picking up the real farmers. Like we have 90% of our farmers in our country has less than 2 acres. We call them small farming background people, and there is a lot of effort from the large organizations to get into that. To get into the data product of it, how do we, the major challenge on ground to the farmers is at what time the power comes up and goes off. Nobody knows. I know there are some, power department trying to make a WhatsApp group or message, and they get a message. If you are from farming background, so many of you would know that that's a practicality today. They get a message at 3 o'clock and people run and then try to see if they can switch on their pumps, whatever, etc. All this stuff. And the soil knowledge and what is the health of the soil, that is still being very grey. People talk about it on ground, no, that's not happening. But if you compare the same thing, some of the products used by Bayer, what we have, I come from Bayer, so in Brazil, if you can go and browse it across, the success rate is pretty much high. So we also have a product now, how it's an app basically. Everything ends up in digital world nowadays. So we have an app which gets data from the regional side. There are multiple field workers from the farming background which work with us, and they share and input a lot of local data, whether it may be geospecific, weather, soil, all that. So farmers, at whatever the knowledge they have, can take a photo of it and try to say what is the kind of pesticides they should use. We are very specific to what Bayer is, but there are others in the market also which say which one they should opt for, what kind of, and they can use other competitors also. So this is a kind of data product. To build this, there is a lot of effort put in, right? Because wherever there is a lot of gray area, no quality in the data, which I would say, the data quality check you can do in farming is very, very, very tough. You can get it verified by anyone in other domain, but in pharma it is not. So for that, there are apps which is getting built, and there are multiple satellite-based solutions, which is very surprising. I've seen a couple of them in some of the Google and AWS events where small startups have come in. They take it from the satellite and how the pest is moving from one zone to the other. Before it comes to your own boundaries of what you have grown, it gives a 1 week upside, upfront, what is the kind of impact it is going to be and what kind of pesticide you should use. And that's an amazing one in terms of the challenge we have. So tech-wise it is, yes, but on solving the solution, it is an amazing solution. So these are the kind of products which are coming in the pharma industry. There are a lot of IoT data, satellite data, weather data getting into picture and integrating them with a lot of computational power on the go, because it should be a very close to live data. So these are the kind of products which are evolving in the market now.
Thanks for that, Chetan. So, 𝗗𝗏.
Yeah, so like Vinay spoke about, right, we being into customer experience management, our data, the data that we work with, I would talk about two types. One is customer data, like the panel data Vinay spoke about, or customer data from different sources. The other is product data. So say open data, when you go to a retailer website, anything that you can, which is open data, which is available, right? The product image, the description, the price, the customer reviews, all of that. Right, so now keeping that data in mind, I would say there are 3 levels of data as a product that we are building, or types of. The first, more like a level 0, which is the data as is. So if you're kind of scraping open data over time for multiple retailers, multiple categories, products can be made available to a client for specific use case or generic use case, but more or less as raw data with minimum data treatment. That's level 0, and typically clients don't want that. They want a next level, right? So what is level 1? So level 1 would be more like when you're processing the data for a particular use case. So I'll take the example of product matching we do at scale, right? So what do we do there? So say I'm Flipkart, right? And I want to see on Amazon, how do my categories compare, right? What kind of assortment do they have? What kind of pricing? What is the product availability there? Are products out of stock or not? What do customers have to say? All of that, right? Now, in order to do that, at a basic level, they need to do product matching, one-to-one product matching. How do you do that? Because you don't typically have a unique identity. You do that using image, using attributes, price, and so on, right? So you need AI. You need AI to build models which would work across categories on large-scale data to give you a probability of match. What is an exact match across retailers? What is a similar match across retailers? So here the delivery is still not, I would say, at a product insight level. We are not giving insights, we are still giving match, but there is use of AI. Because we are doing this for millions of products across categories. So there is an entire system that is built, right? Because there has to be QC. There is a allocation module where products are allocated to people for QC. So this is an end-to-end delivery, more like a level. Now level 2 is what? Now when you take this to the next level of answering business questions, how? Let's say a brand wants to do channel optimization. So they want to see, say I'm a cheese brand, like let's say Kraft or Philadelphia. I want to see how am I represented on a retailer website compared to another one, right? When you search for cheese, do you see me or do you see other brands? What is the price comparison? Are the attributes showing up in the right way? Is product content correct? And so on. So now the same data that I was talking to you about in level 1 can be aggregated. We can generate KPIs like what is the share of search? When you're searching, what is the share? What is the out of stock looking like? What do customer sentiments compare? How do they compare, right? And this is now always on. So this data is continuously being scraped, insights are continuously being generated with AI, and this is like a platform delivery to clients. So these would be like 3 levels, I would say, of data as a product. We also do voice of customer. So customers need feedback in so many different places, right? Social media, retailer websites, apps. Now there are short form videos and so on, right? How do you get the underlying sentiment, the themes, the trends that customers are talking about on a real-time basis, right? That is another form of work that we do, where all of this data can come together for a brand in an always-on mode, right? Where we are generating themes, sub-themes, sentiments that customers are talking about.
Yes. And the next question is something related to what you spoke now about the customers and everything. Feedbacks come from everyone. When you're developing a data as a product, you have a data analyst team. They are also consuming the data. You have the product team, and then you have the end users. So you collect feedbacks from each and every one of them. How do you incorporate these feedbacks into that data product?
Yeah, so 360-degree feedback, like you already mentioned, right? So one is the product team itself, right? So before any launch, not only of a product or an MVP, but any feature launch or enhancement launch, the product team itself does testing and they have a point of view. Next is it goes to the delivery team or the team who will be using it, right? So analysts, typically they will test it more from a delivery angle. So they will see that when I deliver it to the client, does it meet timeline requirement? Does it meet accuracy requirement? Is the flow fine? Am I being able to do QC, allocation, all of that? And then there is the internal advisors that I spoke to you about, right? So they come in from more an outside-in view, where they bring in competitive landscape. What are competitors doing? It's very fast evolving. Data integration. So clients are typically asking for like a one-stop shop. They want to see everything together in one place, right? So how do we get those data integration in the platform? So that is, I would say, the third layer. And finally, when we roll out MVPs to clients, we get that client feedback, right? What is working, not working, what could be enhancements. So,
Amazing, that answers the question. Do you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, the perspective of MVP feedback, how intense probably the customer is associated with our way of development. This was not the case when we started, right? Customer maybe asked for a samosa and end of 1 or 2 years, we're not sure what that was, right? But now I think every iteration we get a buy-in, we build trust with the customer, we analyze. So we had a pharma example, we also had some examples from e-commerce side. I would like to add an example where I work for a research-based analytical project which created a digital twin, right? So we got data, it's like your twin, and the whole purpose was to analyze your wear and tear. Girls, maybe it's how your wear and tear is, boys as in how your wear and tear is. So similar to that, we had the big, huge engines, Airbus and GE Aviation engines that continuously read the data from IoT, and how we processed it and how we deployed it in an in-house cloud foundry was massive. And we didn't have to run those machines physically to know its wear and tear. So that way, I think even in the automation manufacturing industries, all this is like, it's all MVP that we are talking about. It's about the continuous feedback. So therefore, I would, ask you guys to continuously learn, cope up, change your mindset, and transit the entire solution that you're going to build. So, which is also important to have minimal waste. So keep that lean, agile, scaled mindset in yourself and take things forward.
Thanks, Ramya.
I just
Yes, please.
add one more thing. So while we get feedback and a lot of different angles like we spoke about, right? It's also very important to have a good prioritization framework, right? Because you have a roadmap, right? And you need to broadly stick to that roadmap. So So we need to prioritize. So we do have a very structured prioritization framework to understand what we are picking up, what we are not, what is the client benefit or user benefit of picking up an enhancement or a new feature, and also what is the effort and the cost that is going behind it. So that that matrix or that analysis is done before we take feedback or implement it.
Amazing. So in conclusion, it's that feedbacks that are feasibly possible and that are impacting the user experience. So only those feedbacks are taken. Thanks for that. So Chetan, again for you. So yeah, this is a bit technical question. Okay? So when you're building data as a product, what are the most important KPIs which you consider while developing that data as that data product for it to be scalable and commercially viable and everything?
Yeah, good question, and current industry challenge, right? So all of us are heading towards getting into a GenAI mode.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to just plug and play their solutions to their customers or even product companies, or everyone want to be there. But getting into the very micro level detail of it is how many of them have their metadata rightly in their databases, right? How many of you understand metadata here? I'm not trying to take an interview, don't worry about it, but trying to just, so all the, basically, why trying to explain it a little bit more is, you have a field, you know what kind of schema it is, and what is the purpose of it in the business, and where it can be used in the end user first. All your entire life cycle, right from your database, I'm querying it to where it is going to be used. All this data should be there to make your GenAI make it happen. I mean, it is like automated system. Like if I'm asking what is my name, and if it all whatever is required to identify me is not there in the database, it is obviously not going. It may add his name and my face and whatever. That's how it is going to be. So important is work on the DQ, data quality KPIs. A couple of data quality KPIs. It differs based on industry, but to keep it very generic is how much of expected quality is, like say, I'll give very general example is you have 20 rows. Practically not, I'm just trying to keep it simple in terms of business. You have 40 columns. Then all 30 columns are something which can be used possibly by business. 10 may not be. When I say 10 may not be, how are you trying to consider this? They may have ingested timestamp, etc., etc. Don't confuse this with data you have, then you need to retain them. But other things, which is part of your infrastructure, etc., all that you don't need to. But out of 30 columns which you have, for the current project or whoever has asked for your requirement, maybe 10 of them may be utilized. But out of the 10, how much do you have full data available? The concept of dropping the null values, some column doesn't have a value at all, some is corrupted, that era is gone. We are not going to drop it anymore, right? We are going to have it, retain it. There is another way of getting the data grays, try to derive a missing value. I go to a lot of hackathons. Yesterday also I was in hackathon, and all these hackathons, generic. I mean, it is because of all the media, short videos which they give. I being in 12, 13 years in AI, I still get a lot of question of myself whether I should derive that field, not retain it, at what point I should eliminate. It's a big question. Whoever is dealing with Mendelian architecture, right, your gold, bronze, and silver layer, at what point you should remove your null values, you should be very conscious. Bronze is default, what all the theoretical teachers, all the L&D people, training, everything says, but it is all very specific to what is the kind of solution is looking for. So, considering that DQ and data cataloging related KPIs, you can make a note and then try to see what are the KPIs about it. And very specific is on the how the KPIs need to be designed for a given requirement or a business use case. This is very tricky. It doesn't go with only one person. When I say one person is as an organization or a business, it is not with the technical person to decide it, not an enterprise architect to decide it, nor a domain. or an end user. It is a permutation combination of all of people sitting together, drafting it in detail to a level of each and every data point needs to be taken into consideration or not, and then come up with a holistical, both enterprise level architecture in terms of a tech solution and a domain solution getting integrated. Then it becomes to a certain extent close to reality. I would not say 100%. And I would say 70-80% is where there, and today we don't wait for something to get into productionized, then go and take up a ride. I mean, I understand what she was trying to say, we also doing for business consulting, but be part of other captives. Internally also, when we work with internal stakeholders before the project gets bigger, right? Internally we want to test it and see whether it really works, then we want to make it on a large scale. Then how do we do it? It goes on a regular basis. We don't put it on a production environment, it is just that the live version of it is available. And I probably share it to my end user and take a feedback, again customers. So it is a continuous improvement, because if your solutions are data driven, you need to make sure that the data gets evolved, your data modeling changes, which schema you are going to use to make it scale up, whether you have a tech, which tech stack is sitting, you are on Tableau, you are using Spotfire or Foldage, or you are using Power BI, you have Microsoft Fabric. All four concepts are different today. One will not fit into the other solution. So again, coming back where I started, you need to look at a very micro level, very specific to a requirement. If I am doing, maybe for this bottle, I want to make an advertisement, I should be very specific. Even if I am selling it to the right side of people here and left side of the people, the concept is different, and data, the way I look into the data is different. So, though all your 𝗗𝗲𝗃𝗂𝗃, all the solutions are ChatGPT, Gemini and all that, and your Copilot will give you the same code when you all prompt the same thing, but if you are not a good prompt engineering, and prompt engineering needs both the technical domain aspect, external, what do you say, I keep it simple, common sense knowledge, whatever, right? Not the right word, but still trying to. If that is not there, then your Copilot, 𝗗𝗃𝗃𝗂, all that is not there. So it is end-to-end mindset of entrepreneurship which we need to have at whatever level you are there, and you need to reach out to right mentorship which are there around. There will be people around, or in the industry outside. We have a lot of digital things also, very crucial to get into and understand and learn for a long run and see where we succeed. I think I've taken it a little lengthier, trying to cover up a lot of micro level to the business side. So that's how it is.
That really served answers the question, yeah. And this is for Ramya. Ramya, you're a well-known Agile coach. So I'm confident that you will support that Agile methodologies should be used when we are developing data as a product. So my question is, what are the unique Agile adaptations when you are involved in productionizing data? Your thoughts?
Yeah, unique Agile adaptations.
Yep.
So what is unique about Agile? I already answered that question. That was the mindset, right? So how do we, face these challenges and have this unique Agile being adapted everywhere? So how many, if I want to know, how many of you use Agile in your team? Okay, others, I presume it's the regular waterfall or a traditional way of doing things. But then the advantage is regular feedback, very ritualized product backlog. I think we guys in the management level, we might relate to WSJF, weighted shortest job first. Why do you have to target a weighted shortest job? Because that is going to give the weightage in the market. So that's one way of looking at it. MVP as such, how we measure the KPI that Chetan was talking about, how do we measure at a tech level versus how do you want to measure it at a team level? It's not just the velocity, it's not just the predictability, it is the MVP as a whole, right? So the perspective has totally changed, and all of this on the org level boils down to OKRs. Now, KPI is something that we have it at a particular point in time to measure its efficiency, but OKR blends with the what do you call, the future vision. So OKR, it's abbreviated as objective and key results. So you have a complete smart objective defined at an org level versus the key results that is being expected, versus the integration with individual KPIs to the KPIs of the entire team. So this is the perspective altogether which we should be thinking as the individual entrepreneurs versus what we have been doing. So it's the my go-to word, mindset, versus how do you question your organization, the process, the way we implement, the backlog that you have, to what tech solution that you're preparing. So Chetan rightly said, it's the prompt, it's the stuff that just pops in, and if you don't really make sense, add your touch to it, it will merely be a solution that is built by that prompt stuff. It's just a dumb machine like all of us know. So it's the sanity, it's the way how we add the perspective to it.
So when we started this panel discussion, the first question which I asked was, what is data as a product to you? Now the last question is, what is a successful data product according to you? And how is the usability, scalability, and quality of such a data product measured? I think it starts from Debashri.
So, I mean, like we spoke about, right, I would say the main thing is the user centricity and the value to the user, right? And if it has to be, valuable to the user, it has to have a few attributes. Like one is adaptable, right? It has to be flexible, and hence the need for, it being agile. There is BDD, right? Behavioral driven development, containerized approach. So all of that is required because we need to be agile, adaptable, flexible, and scalable. The other aspect is now decisions are being taken out of this, so the data has to be, trustworthy, secure definitely, but trustworthy and integrated. So feeding into different API, standard API feeds into the data being able to kind of get into a client system. So that is the other angle. Apart from that, yes, governance, feedback loop, we talked about all of that. Yeah.
So yes, continuous feedback loop and maybe indefinite association with the stakeholders, internal, external, to be anybody who's going to contribute to your product or use your product. And I feel it's also the leadership as an org, which is going to play a key role in how we continuously innovate. So I think many teams, as of my transformation journey is going right now, have scaled up to adapt safe framework. So where a complete iteration is a IP sprint, they call it as. So for suppose if you want to just imagine it's the product that we're developing and we're planning for 1 quarter. That is the increment that we plan generally. If it's a 2 weeks iteration, probably how many such iterations would be? 6, right? If it's a 3 months and 2 weeks of iteration, which means 6 iteration is expected to be. The last iteration, according to that framework, is something called as IP, which is innovation and planning. So there's a lot of importance that needs to go through innovation. But as an org, as an entrepreneur, will you really have that willingness to give 1 full iteration of all your team members just to innovate? Do we? Right? So alongside innovation, we need a lot of support from the leadership to make this very successful. Hackathon, like Chetan was mentioning, it's all that is going to be given in the IP iteration, which will lead to your better innovation. For a very good example for that is the buy now option in Amazon. Can you imagine the multi-fold revenue that an engineer has created during that innovation hackathon, right? It was not necessary for you to, of course, it has made us shopping addicts, but the way you got to look at it is in the entrepreneur way, like I really said. So, if as an entrepreneur, if buy now has given you a multi-fold transformation in your revenue, then why don't we innovate such solution? Yeah. So I feel it's more like innovation to add on to what she said, and also the agile leadership and the mindset to continuously give time for you guys to innovate. Otherwise, it's the burnout that we'll get into. We'll all be delivering MVPs based on the roadmap that is defined. Yeah. But then when you really want to challenge that roadmap, I think all you guys should be innovators. Thank you.
Thank you. I think they have covered from process to the leadership. I'm going to touch base on the actual data on the ground, right? Now we spoke about some KPIs. Now to keep my product more qualitative, variable in the market. So there are a couple of things. So we have KPIs. What we usually do, or the general scenario in the industry, we define the KPI now. We achieve it after 6 months, and we follow it for next 3-4 years. But there is an exclamatory mark whenever I go back. I always try to recommend, even within my leadership or wherever I go, why don't you review your KPIs as and when your data matures? The era of data maturity, which used to take 3-4 years or 5 years, is gone. It matures every 6 months now. We need to change our KPIs accordingly. Now, there are 2-3 phases, I would say. It is the initial phase of your KPIs, trying to define and get a basic insight of it. That's a basic. First time KPIs are a basic insight of it. Where do we stand? What are we doing? The second phase of maturity, so you may ask, what you are saying about data maturity now, right? How much truth of your data is there in your data? Right? When you start for all the whatever KPIs, assuming you have 5-6 KPIs, you will not have all the data required to fulfill it to 100%. Eventually, there will be a lot of brainstorming session from however you get it from various people, and then the truth of the data keeps increasing, and the additional impacting factors, direct or indirect factors, start adding to your data. Then you are in the next level of it. So that's the data maturity, movement from one level to another. Then you should change those KPIs. Don't keep the old legacy system KPIs, and then someone who is doing in the market would have been taken next road ahead, and the competitor is already eating it up. And the final layer is like you have most of the data ready. Your SMEs has expertise, and you can see some of your internal users or R&D department has tested it thoroughly, and you are in a very gold layer or platinum layer of using KPIs. Then you should have a very strategic KPIs is how your AI solution based KPIs, which are not there in the market yet. Some very few, maybe single digit companies are being using this. This is one side of it. The other side, which I want to highlight, and even I keep saying this recently now, there is no, have you seen anybody, have you seen a cross collaboration KPI? I have not seen it any in the dashboards. Very less. So you are one team, you are in another team. I'm talking about a project level. These two project teams are there, they do their own project KPIs, they do their own project KPIs. There is no downstream and upstream impact in KPIs in the industry, but this is a high time we need to have. And all the Gen AI solutions will be successful, all your AI, whatever you call, all latest fancy names of solutions. It is only when you are collaborated, you are nothing but your downstream and upstream. You are at its best, it is not going to solve the problem. The data product which you are going to have will have its own issues of the downstream and the upstream. And nobody is worried about it until unless they have ownership, and that is where the part leadership comes in a picture. And if there is a right leader in place who is always governing and cross-collaborating and at least try to fix the dots between the cross-collaborating team, I think that's a win-win situation. This solution is going to be there, should be there for industry for at least next 2-3 years. That is going to drive is what I think, because there are no cross collaboration KPIs now in the industry. At least we have tried to derive, but if you see on a generic note, you can go and search it on Google, very, very less. And that is going to keep your data product quality high and sustainability and scalable, whatever you want to use for later in an AVR solution, which is next level of marketing, which is happening. One of the new marketing styles, so half of it is already there in the market. Like you get into any interior solution, they will show you pulling up the size of the room and all that stuff. But now I saw a couple of ads where house is under construction. You wear that AVR and get in. You can feel that. You can literally feel that. So, I mean, though you have, right, whatever, you want to spend 100 rupees on some interior, now because of you have seen it, how it looks. So the person would have shown you 100 rupees worth. I'm talking about the quality and the luxury of it, not about the money, right? If the quality of it was something different at 100 rupees cost, but it looks amazing to you. Just because obviously there will be a lot of passion involved and a lot of sentiments when you construct a home. If you want to sell you a 1,000 rupees product, it is so easy. It's an AVR under your under construction home. You just wear it and get in. It looks like as if you are a ready home. And that's the kind of data quality, accuracy, marketing side of it, and the user experience basically. Which obviously then people know where we are going. Just we say that we have a fancy thing of software, that's not very, right? So couple of aspects in various levels need to be weighed and used, but to a developer point of view, keeping say 7 to 8 years or 10 years under 10 years experience folks who are on ground looking into the stuff, they should really look into what these KPIs are. There is no option that someone at management should go. I'm going to elaborate a little bit on this because wherever we go for an hackathon, because hackathons happens for a very different purpose altogether, and that helps the young generation for sure who are just in the industry, spend 7-8 years. You should know what KPIs is. KPIs is nothing but your business goal basically, but business goal is not one statement today. It is about 10 feet. You want a bike is not a, it's a very generic one. You might get a Luna or electric Ola bike, or you want a whatever, your fancy bikes of your team. You should be very specific what you need, and to get those you have a lot of other parameters in place. The speed or whatever, right? Tire style, how roads, etc. I don't know. But that is the kind of thought process you should have for any solution. You try to make it as a passionate work on what you work in, especially with data. Otherwise, it is going to be a stressful, unsuccessful results. You should be passionate about it. If it is not, you should start building it in what you are interested in, then convert that into data and see how it can help. And the same solution can fit into the industry which you are in your office. Someone can help. A lot of senior people can help you to replicate and make it successful. I'll stop this here. No, it's a never-ending story.
Thank you. Thanks, Chet. That was a tailor-made answer for the question. And of course, thanks to Ramya and 𝗗𝗃. These questions were not something that were created out by just putting a prompt in ChatGPT. These questions were developed by a set of people from different organizations, different seniority levels, and you have answered them in a very tailor-made fashion. And I hope the audience would have got the best out of it.